be a 15-minute intermission, and we encourage you to use that time to take advantage of our concessions and the 50-50 raffle. If you haven't bought your raffle tickets yet, last night the pot was $150. So the bigger the pot, the more the winner gets. And the way it works is we split it 50-50. The winner receives half of that. The other half goes to Goose Creek Players to help fund their future performances, including our spring show, Cinderella the Musical. All right, so now, please enjoy the show.
It was a lovely day for the parade, Chris.
Yes, it's such a wonderful way to begin the season.
You want to sit down somewhere to watch this long parade?
No, I don't mind standing. Maybe you'll go sit on the curb with those children.
Oh, best place to watch it from. It ain't a New York Christmas without Macy's Parade. And the children sure love it.
I saw a whole six-pack of those on the dumpster on 32nd Street. You might want to pick them up.
Ooh, thank you. I'll get it right after the parade.
Oh, my dear woman, why are you digging through garbage cans? It's repulsive.
Because I find wonderful things in them. I can get money for this bottle. Every little bit helps. Plus, I'm doing my Christmas shopping.
Christmas shopping?
You would be surprised the treasures people will throw away.
Oh, I do my Christmas shopping in the privacy of my own living room. The Home Shopping Club on Channel 8. I just telephone my order and use my credit card. I can't be bothered going through crowds at the store.
Well, you ought to be bothered a little bit. Besides, my Christmas shopping costs a lot less than yours, and it's appreciated just as much. It's about the time and thought you put into it. That's how you show your love for your family, no matter how you do your Christmas shopping.
I like your spirit. A real Christmas spirit is always a joy.
Well, you know, Christmas is always big bucks for the department stores. It's the season when they make up for the losses they have all year long.
Oh, Doctor, Christmas is more than big bucks. It's the one time of the year that ought to be set aside for paying attention to those things that we ignore the rest of the year, like peace, goodwill, and helping others. What do you want for Christmas, Doctor?
I don't think Santa Claus could get me what I want.
Well, try me.
Well, if you say so. Maplewood's medical facility needs an X-ray machine. It could be helpful in so many situations, but it's very expensive.
You shall have it, Doctor.
Chris, if I get that X-ray machine, I'll know you're Santa Claus.
Just look at your stocking on Christmas morning.
Chris, we've never really discussed your having to leave Maplewood. I want you to know how sorry I am. I did everything I could, but the board overruled me. They just won't allow us to keep anyone whom they've decided is mentally unsound.
But I passed all those tests, didn't I?
I know you did. I've argued for you all along. But I just can't justify what they call paranoid thinking, even though you are not harmful to yourself or others, to use the psychiatric jargon.
Just because I'm Santa Claus.
Because you say you're Santa Claus.
It happens to be true.
But the board doesn't believe in Santa Claus, so you're out.
So what's next?
Well, Maplewood has an arrangement with Mount Hope Sanitarium.
Oh, the rubber room, huh?
For a public hospital, Mount Hope is a comfortable and charming place. There's entertainment, TV, and... Chris, do you have any money?
I've got $53.
That won't get you very far. You're not a young man anymore. It won't be easy for you to earn a living. If you can't support yourself, you'll become a ward of the state and end up at Mount Hope anyway? Why not avoid the disagreeable experience of living on the street?
There's nothing wrong with me. I'll be hanged if I'll go to the funny farm.
What choice do you have?
Well, the zookeeper in Central Park's a friend of mine. I could stay with her for a while. The reindeer don't doubt my sanity.
Oh, Chris, please.
Well, Doris, after 5 years, we have this parade business working pretty well, don't you think?
Just as long as Mr. Macy's happy.
Hello Kitty, was it better this year, Mother?
Yes, Susan, we fixed her eyes so they roll, which makes her look more alive.
And now you watch your mother, Susan. You'll be able to handle this parade yourself by the time you're 10.
Would you believe? 8.
Merry Christmas! Oh, Merry Christmas. Where's the reindeer? Merry Christmas!
Oh, allow me, sir. Let me show you. Look, it's, on the wrist.
Well, never works right unless you oil it just a little bit.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself. In front of all these children.
Oh!
Oh, you're a disgrace to the uniform. Where's your Christmas spirit?
It's here, right here. You gotta keep warm.
It does.
Oh.
There's our Santa over there, Doris.
Jingle bells.
My God! What do we do now?
How did we manage to get him? Shelley, see if you could get him into the sleigh.
How?
Get someone to help you shove, and tie him in if you have to.
Oh, I think I'm gonna be sleigh sick.
Mother, I don't think the people are going to like a Santa who's asleep.
He's not his twinkling self, that's for sure.
Santa, please wake up. That's not really Santa. He works for my mother at Macy's. If you want to see a Santa, they're ringing bells on every street corner in the city.
Those aren't real Santa. Nor does he Santa himself.
I suppose you believe in the Easter Bunny, too.
This looks like a golden opportunity to solve both your problems, Chris. I think they need a replacement on the sleigh.
Well,
You could spread the Christmas spirit and pay the rent at the same time.
we haven't asked me.
You have to ask them. Oh, how can you sit and watch this? These children will be disappointed if there's no Santa.
Don't you surprise me? Is that a genuine Christmas spirit? Or are you pretending for my sake?
Oh, no. I was thinking about what you said. Giving and sharing. Whether you are the real Santa or not, you could certainly make those children believe you are.
That's what it's all about, isn't it, Doctor? Excuse me, ladies, is there any way I could get help?
I don't believe it! It's Santa Claus!
My pleasure, ma'am.
Shelley, it's a gift from, of course, Santa Claus. Sir, you can see what our problem is here. Would you mind filling in for us, little Santa, for this parade?
Well, I'm not in the habit of substituting for intoxicated incompetence, but seeing as how I fill the role so perfectly, which way to the dressing room?
Shelley, get this man suited for the sleigh.
You bet! Right this way, so. And, I'll take this.
Hello, Doris.
Oh, hi, Fred. Susan's over talking to the elves. Could you get her and take her somewhere? I've got so much going on right now that I don't have time to deal with all the crazy ideas of putting her in.
Don't worry, I overheard the conversation. It was just about the North Pole.
That's just what I mean. North Pole. North Pole? I appreciate your taking care of Susan, Mr. Daly, and I'm very glad the two of you get along so well. But we've been neighbors long enough for you to know that I have definite ideas about keeping your mind free of illusions. I've told you before, I will not have her believing in fairy tales, Mr. Gailey.
Why not, Mrs. Walker?
All right, Fred. I'm sorry for being so irritable, but I feel it's more important for her to understand reality. As a lawyer, I should think you would support that.
I didn't realize you were raising a 7-year-old lawyer.
It isn't a fairy tale world we live in, Fred. She'll end up expecting that Prince Charming will come along and he'll, well, Fred, you know that happily ever after just doesn't exist.
Are we talking about Susan or about you? Look, Doris, I'm sure your divorce was painful, but you can't stay bitter about it forever. Not all men will let a woman down, and I don't think Susan's going to grow up any happier to think so.
I was devastated, Fred. Thank you for all your help, but please, let me be Susan's parent.
Hey, Mom, the elves are better this year. Their costumes actually fit.
Don't worry, Doris. Nobody's going to make up this kid's mind for her.
Please join us as we sing up on the houseboat. Actually, Santa Claus is coming to town. Sorry about that.
You better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He's making a list, checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's naughty and nice. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Oh, you better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town.
Welcome aboard. I'm Michelle Hannah. It's my responsibility to train the new members of Maisie's family of employees. Now, here's a list of the toys we want you to push, Mr.
Chris Triggle.
Oh, really? That's very clever.
They've been in the family for generations.
Oh. Okay. Now, so we are overstocked on these toys. So, if a child wants something that we don't have, oh, you should say, no, you might not like that. How about one of those dolls from the new Barbie movie instead? Understand?
Well, why not give the children what they want?
Because it's Christmas. People will buy just about anything for the kids at Christmas. You can change kids' minds because they think you're really Santa Claus, see? So it's a good time to clear out our surplus inventory.
The real economic spirit, huh?
Yes, and a Santa who helps move merchandise gets a little something extra in his Christmas stocking. Now, we mustn't keep the shoppers, the children, waiting.
Goshorn?
How did you know my name?
Well, because I'm Santa Claus. Now, what can I bring you for Christmas?
I want a big bag of ribbons on my handlebars.
Ooh, well, you've been a good girl this year. I think that could be arranged.
Thanks a lot, Santa. Does it look like I'm made of money? Could you ask her if there's something else she'd like, you know? Your store wants $125 for a bike like that, I checked.
Well, can you afford $55.95?
Sure.
Well, try a consumer's outlet on 32nd Street.
Wait a minute. Macy's Santa is sending me to another store.
Doesn't matter whether Outlook or Macy's sells the toys. The important thing is to make the child happy.
That's really good of you. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And what would you like for Christmas, young man?
I want a fire engine, the type that has real hoses and squirts real water. And I promise not to squirt it in the house.
Ooh. But you made that promise last year, didn't you, Johnny, with the water blaster?
But I really promise this time.
Okay, I'll accept your promise. But remember now.
Why would you say that? I've been all over town and everybody's sold out.
Well, Bloomingdale's just got in the new supply. They're on the 4th floor, second aisle on the left. And they're only $18.50. Marvelous bargain.
Huh?
Oh, thank you for shopping at Macy's.
Hey, I'm on my way to Bloomingdale's. Your Santa recommended it.
What?
And let me tell you, I think it's wonderful. That's the true Christmas spirit. He told me where I could get what my boy really wants.
Oh, what a Mr. Macy's. Think about that. Oh.
Oh, this child has only recently come to me from foster care. She's deaf, but she insisted that Santa Claus would know exactly what she wanted. I hope you can... I'm sorry, I can't translate for
She
you.
wants a doll and a visit to her grandmother. That's a doll and jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride a one-horse open sleigh.
Thank you so much.
Merry Christmas. How are you today?
Mad.
Well, tell me about it.
Me and my sister got into a fight. She told me the phone would go into my ear if I didn't get off it.
Young kids like to tease each other, don't they? Well, just remember the next time somebody teases you, that person is unhappy inside. Things will get better, you'll see. Now, what do you want Santa to bring you for Christmas?
An iPhone!
I guess he thinks they're gonna get better right away. Merry Christmas.
Okay, Susan, it's your turn.
Do I have to?
Try it anyway, for the sake of Macy's.
You know, of course, that this is ridiculous.
Merry Christmas. And why don't you believe in Santa Claus, Susan?
How did you know that?
Oh, I know lots of things. And what would you like for Christmas?
Nothing. Whatever I want, my mother will get for me, provided it isn't too expensive. I know you're just a person my mother hired to play the part of Santa Claus, but I must admit, you're better than most. I can't even see the straps holding your beard on. It looks real.
Well, that's because it is real, Susan. And so am I.
Well, it was nice talking to you anyway, but I don't think you ought to pretend to all these children that you were going to bring them what they want.
Well, maybe they will get what they want this year. And so will you.
I'm sorry, she's a hard sell, but thanks for trying anyway.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for bringing it to me. I really like working on the tough cases. What she needs is a dose of imagination. Fred, maybe you and I can work on that sometime.
Mother, something funny happened. There was a girl who couldn't hear in line, and the Santa spoke to her in sign language, and they sang a song together.
Susan, plenty of people speak other languages. I speak French, but that doesn't make me Joan of Arc. He's just some man I hired this week. And besides, even if there were a Santa Claus, I doubt he'd be working at Macy's. Now I'm gonna have you stand right over here while I go speak to Fred for a minute. Fred, if you'd please step this way. I just received Santa's employment record from my office. Perhaps you'd like to read it.
Name, Kris Kringles. Age, as young as my tongue and a little bit older than my teeth. Birthplace, North Pole. Next of kin, Donner, Dasher, Prancer, Dancer, Blitzen,
Does that convince you? I think you better take Susan home now if you don't mind. Apparently, I have a job to do.
I still just think he's a nice old man. All right, I stand corrected. Come on, Susan, your mother has Christmas to manage.
Doris, this new Santa Claus is completely unacceptable. He refuses to push the backlog merchandise. And you're not going to believe this. He's telling our customers to buy toys at other stores. I'm not kidding. You've got to do something. What a coincidence. I was on my way to do just that. Mr. Kringle.
Ah, yes.
We've had a busy day, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're all difficult, but getting used to a new setting is always a little trying, but I really enjoy the children.
Well, perhaps you've been trying a little too hard.
What do you mean, Mrs. Walker?
Seems you haven't been following Miss Shellhammer's instructions.
Ah, you mean to push the surplus toys. Yeah, I decided not to do that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it didn't seem honest. Why should the children pay for Macy's mistakes?
That is not your decision to make, Mr. Kringle. And speaking of dishonesty, how do you explain this personnel card?
Yes, nothing dishonest on it.
But the things we put down on this form, we take our work seriously at Macy's, Mr. Kringle. We're not playing games. If you want to receive a paycheck, you need to put proper information down on your form.
But it's all true. You see, I verified it by signing it at the bottom.
Then you really think that you're Santa Claus?
Of course not.
Oh, well, that's a relief.
I know it for a fact.
Well, you're welcome to whatever delusions you choose to live by. But here at Macy's, we can't have a Santa who refers our shoppers to other stores. You can pick up your final check at the personnel department.
I find it just a bit ironic, Mrs. Walker, that you find Santa Claus for being Santa Claus. I was just trying to make sure the children got what they really wanted.
Macy's is in business, Mr. Kringle. We have to compete with the other stores. I don't want to argue. I will authorize a week's severance pay for you. Now, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Don't worry. I won't hold it against you on Christmas Eve.
Doris, Mr. Macy would like to,
perfectly capable of speaking for myself, Miss Shellhammer.
Is there a problem, Mr. Macy?
Yes, I will listen with great interest while you explain to me how it is that our Santa Claus has been sending our shoppers to other stores.
I take complete responsibility, Mr. Macy.
I instructed him to push the backlog stock, Mr.
Well,
Macy.
then who told him to send our customers to Bloomingdale's for merchandise that we don't even carry?
We don't know, sir.
My office has been flooded with phone calls, faxes, letters.
I'm very sorry, Mr. Macy, but I've had
Every one of them a message of grateful appreciation from a happy shopper. Why, this is the greatest goodwill advertising gimmick in years. It's positively revolutionary. I can see the headlines now. The store with the real Christmas spirit. Macy's Santa recommends Bloomingdale's. This is a breakthrough advertising initiative for us, Mrs. Walker. Macy's will receive a bountiful harvest of publicity and goodwill, and the media will eat it up.
I'm so glad you're pleased.
Yes, sir. This fellow is the very best Santa Claus that we've ever had. And there will most definitely be something extra in both of your stockings. Well done, ladies.
This must not be Tuesday. After all, I'm still asleep and dreaming.
It's Armageddon.
Huh?
I just fired him!
You did what?
You should see his personal card. He's crazy. He actually thinks that he's Santa Claus.
Well, evidently, so does Mr. Macy.
I don't know what we're gonna do now.
Do you think Mr. Macy will fire us?
Maybe it's not too late. Kevin, can you have the operator page Chris Kringle?
Yes, ma'am.
Chris Kringle to the toy department. Chris Kringle to the toy department.
Mrs. Walker, where's Santa? The line stretching all the way to the women's sportswear. And we're almost out of candy canes.
She fired him. She fired Santa in the middle of Christmas rush. What about the children?
Mrs. Walker, as the shop spirit of elves for book number 10, I must lodge a formal grievance against management's capricious disrespect for the Christmas spirit.
All right, everyone. We're straightening the matter out right now.
Santa Claus goes, we walk!
Oh, good grief. Just what I need. Striking elves.
You didn't need to page me, Mrs. Walker. I was going to bring your suit back to you.
Put it back on.
What?
Mr. Kringle, I owe you an apology. It appears I was a bit hasty.
Oh?
I was mistaken about your policy of sending shoppers to other stores. As a matter of fact, Mr. Macy likes it.
Well, that's not reason enough, Mrs. Walker. I see no reason why I should come back to contribute to Macy's profits. Christmas isn't about pushing toys. We're so busy trying to make things go faster or look shinier so that we can get a step up on our competitors that we're losing the true spirit of giving from our heart. I see no reason why I should contribute to such capitalism.
So, you won't come back?
The union stands solidly behind you, Mr. Kringle.
Thank you.
Here we are, in the middle of Christmas rush. And I'm our Santa who's worked a miracle. Oh, because I don't know how miracles work. Sir, it really is more than a matter of profit. Can't you see that Macy's needs you, I need you, and the children need you, please?
Yay! Not to mention saving 3 wage slaves from being fired.
Well,
would you stay if we promised not to ask you to push our overstock? Just be the Santa you want to be. Just be yourself.
Well, that I can do.
A masterful stroke, Miss Walker.
You wanted to see me, Mrs. Walker.
Yes, Miss Sawyer. As our vocational guidance counselor, I was hoping you could help me with a particular situation we have. There's a wonderful new Santa in our toy department this year.
That's very admirable, Mrs. Walker.
Not exactly. He seems all right in every way, even a natural white beard. But he's actually convinced that he's Santa Claus.
Interesting.
I was hoping you could help the old fellow out a bit.
You mean he actually maintains his character outside of the work environment? Oh dear. This sounds like a classic case out of an abnormal psychology textbook. What other symptoms are there?
None that I know of.
A persistent delusion. Very bad sign. Very. This is usually deeply rooted when a subject has failed to have emotional needs fulfilled in childhood, so they try to personify the image of affection and gift-giving. So, what is the subject's name?
Chris Kringle.
You've got to be kidding.
I wish that I were. Oh, but please don't alarm him. He's a very valuable employee right now.
So what would you like me to do?
Just come by, observe him a little, maybe arrange an interview. Keep it casual.
Leave it to me, Mrs. Walker. He'll never suspect that I suspect. Are you Doris Walker?
Yes, may I help you?
Dr. Pierce, I'm the resident physician at the Maplewood Home, where Chris Kringle used to live.
Oh, really? I think I'd like to talk to you.
I heard you hired Chris as Macy's Santa Claus. I'm so glad you gave him a chance.
Who is he really, Dr. Pierce?
That's a good question. I've given it a lot of thought. He claims he's the real Chris Kringle. And if there really is a Santa Claus, he certainly fits the part.
You don't actually think that he's Santa Claus, do you?
Say that. I merely imply that from a purely philosophical point of view, he could be Santa Claus.
But do you think he's Santa Claus? Philosophically speaking, of course.
It's one of those ideas that goes round and round in your head. Like a Snow White is red. Or when a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound?
Of course it does.
Does it? If you were standing there, it would, because the vibrations would bounce off your eardrums. But if there were no eardrums in the vicinity, could it still make a sound?
You know, I've heard this argument before, but it can never be proven.
Or disproven. It's all in your perception. If nobody believed in Santa Claus, maybe he wouldn't exist. But millions of children all over the world do believe in Santa Claus. And Chris believes he is Santa Claus.
He surely does.
You might say it's a case of, I think, therefore I am.
You're still speaking philosophically, I assume?
When you live long enough, deal with the world long enough, you find that philosophically is really the only way to understand things. They make better sense that way.
Well, unfortunately, we have to be realistic in the retail business.
I understand. But I must tell you, Chris is perfectly harmless. There are thousands of people living quite charming lives under similar delusions.
I'm glad you said delusions.
As I said, I've known Chris for years, and he's absolutely harmless. His delusion is a positive one. He just wants to bring happiness and the real spirit of Christmas to everyone. I just worry about him sometimes.
Why?
Chris is an old man. I'd hate to think of him wandering the streets of New York without a home to go to. If someone could just keep an eye on him. I mean, after the store closes.
You mean he has no place to live?
He can't stay at Maplewood anymore. They discharged him.
Well, I'll see what I can do, Dr. Pierce. I appreciate your insights. I actually feel much more at ease after this conversation.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. I know you won't regret having Chris on your staff. Have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw him, you would even say it glows. All of the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer games. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you have my sleigh tonight? Then all the reindeer loved him, as they shouted out with glee, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you're the darkest story. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la la la
Hey,
la
get
la.
off that stage. What are you doing? Macy's has got a business here. Get out of here. Come on. Stop it.
Ah, Mr. Kringle, is it?
That's one of the names people call me.
I'm Alberta Sawyer, Macy's vocational guidance counselor.
How do you do?
That remains to be seen. Now, Mr. Kringle, before the customers start coming in, I'd like to ask you some questions. Store policy requires that I get to know you a little better. So, have you been enjoying your work here so far?
Well, I'd hardly call it work. Be perfectly honest with you. I usually do this sort of thing for free.
I see. So you normally promise gifts to children at Christmas time.
I do my best.
And how do you propose to provide all these gifts yourself?
Well, Santa Claus has a lot of influence in making things happen.
Uh-huh. So sometimes you go back to the North Pole at night to manufacture these gifts yourself, is that correct?
No, actually, I live with my reindeer.
Excuse me?
I'm staying temporarily at the zookeeper, with the zookeeper at the Central Park. I help her to take care of the reindeer, feed them, and generally make sure they're all right.
I see. Well, let's move on. Mr. Kringle, how much is 3 times 5?
Don't you know?
I want you to tell me.
15, of course.
Very good. Now, thank you. Now, I would like you to next take your hand and also...
I know. Extend my arm with my index fingers, touch mine at all. I know that one. I know this one. You got anything new I haven't tried before?
Who was the first president of the United States?
George Washington. And do you know who was the vice president of the Grover Cleveland?
I have no idea. Mr. Kringle, I'm conducting the interview if you don't mind. Now, are you married?
Is that a proposal?
How many fingers am I holding up?
3. Oh, I see you bite your nails. Do these interviews make you nervous?
That's none of your business. Now, how much is 3 times 5?
15. The same as it was the first time you asked me. Are you aware that unconsciously repeating yourself is a sign of overwork and stress? Are you getting enough rest, Miss Sawyer?
That'll be all, Mr. Kringle.
You could use a nice vacation. Why don't you take off a few weeks? I could speak to Mr. Macy for you.
That man, he definitely has a rampant psychosis.
Who?
That Santa, that Kris Kringle.
Come on, Sawyer. His doctor was just here, and she assured me he's perfectly harmless.
Perfectly harmless? Cases like this often become violent when their delusions are attacked. If he's allowed to continue to work here, I will accept no responsibility for the consequences.
That's all right, Sawyer. I'll take complete responsibility. No need to worry.
If I'm the psychologist around here, my opinion should be respected. I'm telling you, if that man becomes violent, I'll be the first to say I told you so. Move!
What was that all about? Sawyer did a psychological evaluation evaluation on our Santa and apparently didn't get anywhere. She seems to think Chris could become violent.
Whew, that would be a disaster.
But I also had an interview with Dr. Pierce from the Maplewood home where Chris used to live.
Oh.
She said Chris is just a kindly old man who thinks he's Santa Claus and he'd never hurt anybody.
Do you believe the doctor?
Well, she says she's known him for a few years, so here, only talked to him for a few minutes.
But why did the doctor seek you out?
She seems fond of Chris and is rather protective of him. She's happy he got a job as Santa at the toy department, but she's worried about the hours after the store closes. She says she wants me to look out for him.
Well, I think that's a splendid idea. And you're just the person to do it.
No, what are you suggesting? Not have him staying with me. No way. I have enough responsibility with Susan, and at night, I like to unwind.
Well, maybe I could help out. We do have a spare room. Chris could stay with us.
You're a jewel, Shelley. I was hoping I could count on you.
Not so fast, Mrs. Walker. I have to talk it over with my husband first. It's his home, too. I'll tell you what. You have Chris over for dinner tonight, and that'll give me time to talk to Arthur. I'll try to convince him that as part of our Christmas spirit, we should have this nice old man over as a temporary house guest. Oh, I don't think I'll mention that he thinks he is Santa Claus.
What will Arthur think when he's introduced to Kris Kringle?
Well, I'll have to think a way around that one.
I appreciate it, Shelley. Call me later.
Now we will be singing Deck the Halls. Feel free to join in.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us, fa la la la. Strike the harp and join the chorus, fa la la. Folly in Nebuchadnezzar, fa la. While I tell you Yuletide treasure, fa la. Fast away the old year passes, fa la. Hail the new year lads and lasses, fa la. Sing we joyous all together, fa la. Heedless of the wind and weather, fa la.
I very much enjoyed our dinner. Thank you for inviting me, Mrs. Walker. I thought the milk and cookies for dessert was an especially nice touch. And I enjoyed spending the evening with you and Susan.
Mr. Crinkle, could you show me the language you signed in the store the other day?
Susan, I'm sure Mr. Kringle is tired.
Oh, no, not at all. I'd love to talk with her, Susan.
Please excuse me, I've got to call Michelle Hammer.
Okay. Tell me, Susan, do you have a lot of friends in the building?
Yes, but I don't see them very much. The games they play are so childish. Today they were being animals. They asked me what kind of animal I wanted to be, but I didn't want to be an animal. It's so dumb.
Why didn't you tell them you were a lion or a bear?
Because I'm not a lion. I'm a girl.
But the other kids weren't really animals either. They were just pretending.
That's what makes the game so silly.
Tell me, Susan, Do you know what imagination is?
It's when you see things that aren't really there.
Well, yes, but it's more than that. Imagination is a very special place. It's a country. You've heard of nations like England and Russia and Japan. Well, imagination is a place like that. But the wonderful thing about this country is that once you get there, you can do anything you want.
Not anything.
Well, how would you like to fly to Mars and be home in time for dinner?
Oh, that wouldn't be possible.
Or let's see, maybe you could be the Statue of Liberty in the morning and fly south with a flock of geese in the afternoon. That's very easy. Would you like to try it?
Well, I guess I could try.
Well, let's see. Let's start with something easy. How would you like to be a bird flying in the sky?
Oh, I wouldn't know how to do that, Mr. Kringle.
Sure you would. Now stand up and hold your arms out wide. Now start waving them up and down like wings. That's it. That's fine. Now tilt to the left and change direction. There you are. You're soaring like a bird over the city.
I did it, Mr. Kringle. That was fun.
Now, tell me, Susan, if you were to believe I was really Santa Claus, what would you ask me to bring you for Christmas?
Can you bring big presents?
Well, since we're in the land of imagination, it could be any size.
I want a real house for Mother and me, and a real father to live in it with us.
Yeah, right. That's a tall order. Indeed, it's a tall order.
Well, if you're really Santa, you can do it. And if you're not, then you're just a nice man with a white beard, like Mother said.
Well, Susan, not every child's wish can come true. But that doesn't mean there isn't a Santa. Sometimes a child will wish for something he can never use, like a real locomotive. Sometimes little girls like to ask their parents for a baby brother or sister, even though their parents wouldn't be able to properly take care of them. And then, sometimes a child has to learn something, like how to love, or how to behave better. So you see, there are reasons why Santa grant every child's wish.
But I wished for a father and a house for such a long time, Mr. Kringle.
And the more you wish for it, the better it'll be when it actually comes. If everybody got what they wanted right away, life wouldn't be half so much fun. So you see, Susan, there are a lot of reasons why every child's dream and wish can't come true.
Father and a house are really all I want. Not toys.
Hi there, Susan. How's my favorite girl? Hi, I'm Fred Daly.
Pleasure to meet you. I'm Chris Kringle.
Oh, yes, I know.
Susan, it's time for bed. Oh, hi, Fred. Have you 2 minutes?
Actually, we just introduced ourselves.
Mr. Kringle, I found you a place to stay. Oh, there's my phone. Please wait a moment.
You're looking for a place to stay?
No, I'm staying at the zoo.
I've never met anyone who's lived at the zoo before.
The zoo is no place to stay. Say, why don't you come stay with me? I've got an extra bed in my apartment. I could use some company.
Well, that's very nice of you, Mr. Gailey. Thank you. Susan, why don't you go and tell your mother we've made arrangements? I wouldn't want her to worry about me.
Okay, Mr. Kringle. I like the idea of you staying with Fred. He's my friend, and it's right next door.
Good night, Susan.
I like the idea too, Mr. Gailey.
Call me Fred, please.
Okay, Fred. Staying so close will make it easier for me to work on Susan's Christmas gift.
You know, I'm really very fond of that little girl.
I can tell. What about her mother?
Well, I like her, but I'm afraid she feels that being neighbors and babysitter with Susan is as close as she wants me to get.
Have you ever tried asking her out?
I've tried, but Doris won't socialize since her divorce. She just concentrates on her career and Susan. I don't think she trusts love anymore.
The old sad story. But maybe it's one that you and I can work on together.
Oh yeah? How do we start?
Well, well, from the beginning start, just keep letting her know that you're interested in her and pay attention to her feelings. Most of all, trust her. Trust her.
I've tried all of that, but it hasn't done any good so far.
Oh, it'll all come out all right. I'll see to that.
Mr. Kringle, Miss Showhammer has a place for you to stay, and she lives right next door, so you could get to work easily.
Well, actually, I've just accepted Mr. Gailey's offer to stay with him.
Mr. Gailey?
Yeah, I hope you don't mind. Well, in that case, I'll be off. I'll go to the zoo and pick up my things. I'll be back shortly.
Wait, I'll call you a cab.
Oh, don't bother. There'll be one laying right outside.
I should warn you about him, Fred. I don't suppose you know he's been diagnosed with suffering from delusions? His doctors asked me to keep an eye on him. He should not be left unsupervised.
Well, aside from the fact I think he's quite capable of handling himself, he'll only be next door. Between the two of us, we should have the situation covered.
Well, that's not quite all.
Oh?
That Santa Claus bit, I don't want Susan being influenced. I thought I made that clear to you.
I understand your concern, Doris, but I like Chris. Why not try it out for a couple of days? And if the arrangement doesn't work, we'll find another place for him. In the meantime, I'll take full responsibility for him. Trust me, Doris. Deal?
Well, okay. Hi, is everything all right?
Did Chris come back here?
No, isn't he with you?
When he didn't show up, I went to the zoo to find him, but the woman there told me he had already been there to get his things and left over an hour ago.
Heavens, Fred, something's happened to him.
It's all my fault, and after I told you could trust me, and...
I don't want to blame you.
I shouldn't have let him go get his things by himself.
The important thing now is to make sure he's all right. I'd never forgive myself if something happened to him.
I'm surprised. I really didn't think you liked Chris.
It's not a matter of like.
I was hoping that this was a sign that what he stands for was getting to you.
No, but this is New York City, you know?
Come on, Doris. Who's going to mug Santa Claus?
I'm calling the police.
Wait. Look, Doris. If Chris can get here from the North Pole, then New York shouldn't be any problem for him.
I'm serious, Fred. If he was all right, he would have called by now. He must know I'd be worried. Clyde, what's wrong, sweetheart?
I dreamed that Mr. Kringle went away, and there wasn't any more Christmas.
Susan, you know that dreams aren't real.
It was only a dream, Susan. Look, Mr. Kringle will be fine. And besides, we will never lose Christmas as long as we have each other. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin night.
appreciation for your friendship and the way you care for Susan. Please, forgive me for getting so upset with you.
Thank you. Thank you for opening up to me. Thanks for recognizing that I'm right here with you.
Oh, excuse me. I'll come back at a more convenient time.
Chris, you're back.
Where were you? We've been very worried.
Just singing carols with a friend. I just came by to say goodnight.
Oh, I'm so relieved.
Then my dream was true. Santa really did go away.
But he came back because your mother cared so much about him.
That's a nice thought anyway. Everything's all right now, Susan. Come on, I'll tuck you back in bed.
Good night again, Susan.
Well, did you enjoy my absence?
What do you mean Doris was nearly crazy with worry?
Well, did it bring the two of you closer together?
Well, yes.
Oh, that's exactly what I was hoping would happen.
You old fox. You worried us on purpose. Now, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Not a bit of it. Now I'll get out of the way so you can finish assuaging her worries.
Here. It's the next door on the right. Now I'm happy you're staying with me, Chris, but I must admit, I do have an ulterior motive.
Oh, what's that?
I finally get to learn the answer to the question that has plagued the world for centuries. Does Santa Claus sleep with his whiskers inside or outside of the covers?
I always sleep with them outside. The cold air helps them to grow. Now, I'll find my own way. Good night.
Believe it or not, Fred, I'm glad he's staying at your place. I feel better about having him safe and near. I like having you near too.
Me too.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, a special Christmas delight. Macy's Elf Theater.
Once upon a mountaintop, 3 little trees stood and dreamed of what they wanted to become when they grew up. The first little tree looked up at the stars and said,
I want to hold treasure. I want to be covered with gold and filled with precious stone. I'll be the most beautiful treasure chest in the world.
The second little tree looked out at the small stream trickling by on its way to the ocean.
I want to be traveling mighty waters, carrying powerful kings. I'll be the strongest ship in the world.
The third little tree looked down into the valley below, where busy men and women worked in a busy town.
I don't want to leave the mountaintop at all. I want to go so tall that when people stop to look at me, they'll raise their eyes to heaven and think of God. I will be the tallest tree in the world.
Years passed, the rain came, the sun shone, and the 3 little trees grew tall. One day, 3 woodcutters climbed the mountain. The first woodcutter looked at the first tree and said,
This tree is beautiful. It's perfect for me.
With the sweep of her shining axe, the first tree fell. Then the first tree said,
Now I shall be made into a beautiful chest. I shall hold wonderful treasures.
The second woodcutter looked at the second tree and said,
This tree is strong. It is perfect for me.
With the sweep of his shining axe, the second tree fell. The second tree said,
Now I shall say mighty waters. I shall be a strong ship for mighty kings.
The third tree felt her heart sink when the last woodcutter looked her way. She stood straight and tall and pointed bravely to heaven, but the woodcutter never even looked up. With the sweep of his shining axe, the third tree fell. The first tree rejoiced when the woodcutter brought her to a carpenter's shop.
With this tree, I'll make a feed box for the animals.
The once beautiful tree was not covered with gold and was not filled with treasure.
Oh no! I'm coated with sawdust and filled with hay for hungry farm animals.
The second tree smiled when the woodcutter took her to a shipyard.
Now I'll be the strongest ship in the world, and I will carry mighty kings.
But no mighty sailing ship was made that day. Instead, the once strong tree was hammered and sawed into a simple boat.
Oh no, just a simple fishing boat. I'm too small and too weak to sail an ocean, or even a river. I can only sail on a little lake.
The third tree was confused when the woodcutter cut her up into strong beams and left her in the lumberyard.
What happened? All I ever wanted was to stand on the mountaintop and point to God.
Many, many days and nights passed. The three trees nearly forgot their dreams. But one night, a golden starlight peered over the first tree as the young woman placed her newborn baby in the feed box.
I wish I could build a cradle for him.
The mother squeezed his hand and smiled as the starlight shone on the smooth and sturdy wood.
This nature is beautiful.
Oh, I'm holding the greatest treasure in the world! One evening, a tired traveler and his friends crowded into the old fishing boat. The traveler fell asleep as the second tree quietly sailed out into the lake. Soon, a thundering and thrashing storm arose. The little tree shuddered.
Oh, I'm a simple boat. I don't have the strength to carry so many passengers safely through the wind and rain.
The tired man awakened. He stood up, stretched out his hand, and said,
Peace.
The storm stopped as quickly as it had begun.
Oh, I'm carrying the King of Heaven and Earth.
One Wednesday morning, the third tree was startled when her beams were yanked from the forgotten wood pile.
What's happening? Where are you taking me? Why are all these people angry? Why are you doing this to this man?
She shuddered when a soldier nailed a man's hands into her.
I feel ugly, lost, and cold.
But on Sunday morning, when the sun rose and the earth trembled with joy beneath her, the third tree said,
I feel so strong. From now on, when people look at me, they'll think of God. That is better than being the tallest tree in the world.
And now, a very special honor, Mr. Macy and Mr. Bloomingdale.
Well, welcome to our store, Mr. Bloomingdale. I'm so glad that we could work together in the true spirit of Christmas.
Yes, you know, I was at first very jealous of your campaign. I thought you were trying to steal Christmas business from us. But then someone reminded me that goodwill is no organization's private property. So we started our own goodwill operation, and I must say it has been most profitable for us.
That's right. Goodwill goes a lot farther with everyone than competition. And now if I could ask you to step forward, please, Mr. Kringle. This is the gentleman that I was telling you about. Mr. Kringle, you've brought a very special spirit to both Macy's and to Bloomingdale stores this holiday season, and it seems to have spread to the entire city of New York as well. Whatever your special gift, all of us at Macy's here believe that it is deserving of special appreciation and recognition. And so we would like to present you with this token of our esteem and gratitude.
I didn't know you had it in you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Oh, you're very generous. This is going to make a very special Christmas for a person who has been very kind to me. It's going to buy an X-ray machine.
Oh, what?
It's for the medical facilities at Maplewood Home. Dr. Pierce assures me an X-ray machine will be very handy in many situations.
Well, that's going to be quite expensive. That check won't begin to...
No, let me handle this. We'll get it to you wholesale.
We'll get it for you at cost.
Thank you both.
He gathered some stardust while he was sailing through the air with his reindeer and sprinkled it on everyone.
Doris, your imagination's coming to life.
Not really, Fred, I was only kidding.
No, you weren't. Don't be afraid to admit it. Oh, and I have a little presentation of my own to make.
What is it? Oh, Fred, it's beautiful.
Oh, here, let me know. Now, I went to Cartier's to look at necklaces, and you know what they did? They sent me to Tiffany's. But then, the clerk at Tiffany's asked me if I had seen the collection at Cartier's.
It's happening all over town. I never thought when I saw that jolly bearded man at the parade that that he would revolutionize the entire merchandising business.
Let's celebrate and have dinner tonight.
Oh, Fred, I'd love to, but I have to work tonight.
Really?
Really. Unfortunately, it's been planned for weeks. Miss Sawyer, our vocational guidance counselor, is giving a lecture this evening to our employees.
Can't she get out of it?
I'm sorry. No, I have to introduce her.
Well, what's the topic?
This is embarrassing. Please don't tell Chris.
Exploring the myth of Santa Claus. Open discussion following lecture. Oh, gee, we're gonna have to show this to Mr. Kringle.
And so it gives me great pleasure to introduce Miss Alberta Sawyer.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are here to explore the nature of the Santa Claus myth. By the time this lecture is concluded, I feel confident that you will share in my heartfelt convictions that this legend, which has been handed down over the centuries, is an outrageous atrocity, and that it has been detrimental to generation after generation of innocent young persons of all genders. Excuse me. The symbolic figure of Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, or Kris Kringle, whatever we may call him, represents the classic expression of the wishful dreaming of all children. Instead of teaching children that the things they want in life come for free, well, they should be taught while they are still in their formative years the value of the work ethic that has made this country great.
Yeah.
They must realize this is a hard and competitive world, and if they are to succeed, they must learn the difference between myth and reality.
Yes.
Mature adults who continue to perpetuate this fable reveal themselves as incomplete and neurotic personalities who have failed to adjust to the stringent demands of our culture. Not only have they damaged their own existence, they are harming their children's future. A child does not understand the marked difference between fact and fiction, and they will grow up still clinging to infantile fantasies and never be able to face those cruel truths of today's world. Why do we do this to ourselves, you ask?
Don't ask.
To compensate for feelings of guilt. That's why we perpetuate the myth of Santa Claus. Parents who feel guilty because they've neglected their children 364 days of the year and pick this one day to overwhelm the kiddies with gifts.
Yeah.
They're doing so to purge their own shameful behavior. And grandparents and parents who stage the Christmas charade and speak of Santa, well, they just feel so guilty. And, well, therefore, I suspect that this vaunted spirit of giving is nothing but selfishness in disguise. In fact, this vicious myth, well, it's done more harm. It's done more harm.
Just a minute here.
I'm giving the lecture, Mr. Kringle.
Well, an open discussion was to be included, I believe.
The discussion will take place after the lecture is over.
The lecture's over!
Mrs. Walker, I refuse to continue until this blatant fraud is removed from the platform.
Chris, we have to.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Walker, but I can't sit here and listen to this depressing absurdity of this woman's propaganda.
Absurdity, Hall!
A fraud, am I?
Mrs. Walker, I told you he would get violent. See? He hit me!
I did no such thing.
Let's calm down, everyone. Alberta, Chris.
Are you gonna let this deranged man attack your employee?
He's quite harmless, Miss Sawyer.
Maybe we should let the police decide that.
And that concludes this evening's lecture, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for attending, and Merry Christmas. I'll handle this.
I am perfectly capable of defending my person against attacks, Mrs. Walker.
Please, for my sake.
Okay. I'll see you at the store tomorrow.
No, wait. Could you wait in the hall for me? I'll I'll talk to you in a minute.
Society has ways of dealing with your kind. Mrs. Walker. Deranged maniac. He struck once, he strike again.
I hardly think that he's even
This could really backfire on Macy's. If Bloomingdale's or the press should find out that our Santa is possibly dangerous, the repercussions could be devastating.
Kringle is a stick of dynamite with a short fuse, and I warned you. Thank goodness I was the victim of his lunacy and not some poor defenseless child dangling on his knee.
We've got to do something at once.
But he's just a kindly old man. Are you sure he even touched you with that cane?
Yes, and he will again. He has evidently suffered a sudden change of personality and has entered a violent stage.
But Dr. Pierce assured me not such a thing could happen. She said his delusion is a positive one.
Dr. Pierce is not a psychologist.
And neither are you.
Well, in that case, your responsibility is to have him thoroughly examined by a competent psychiatrist at once.
I agree.
Well, I don't. Chris has been examined many times according to Dr. Pierce.
Then one more time won't make a difference. If the psychiatrist finds him competent, then he can come right back and resume his job.
And if he doesn't, then you would most assuredly have done the right thing.
Oh,
well,
you'll have to explain it to him.
Problem now.
Doris, he trusts you.
I simply can't hurt the old man.
The only problem now, though, is to get him out of here without creating a scene. But, nope. I won't need you. Don't worry about it. I know just what I'll do.
What are you going to do?
Well, I'll apologize, and I'll take him for dinner, and I'll drop him off wherever he's staying, and he'll see a competent psychiatrist in the morning. I'll be sure of it.
Well, all right, Alberta. But call me later and let me know how you worked it out.
Mr. Kringle, are you still there? I'm truly sorry about our misunderstanding. Are you all right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said the things I did. Could I take you to dinner and then I'd be happy to drop you where you're staying?
Well, I certainly accept your apology, Miss Sawyer, but, and I thank you for the dinner invitation, but I think I'll go with Mrs. Walker.
That's all right, Chris. It'll give me time to do more shopping. I'll leave with Miss Shellhammer and I'll see you in the morning.
Okay, well, fine.
Shall we go?
Will you excuse me for a minute? I need to talk to the elves.
Of course, I'll just go gather my things.
I've been thinking. Do you remember how we always say that we should look for the good in everyone, no matter how bad that person seems to be?
Does every single person include Miss Sawyer?
Sometimes the good is buried so deeply that it has a difficult time trying to get out. And sometimes when it does come out, we're not able to recognize it because we block our willingness to see it. Miss Sawyer sees things very narrowly because she lacks the ability to dream. Therefore, she can't imagine things being any better than in her limited view.
Is there hope for her?
Well, of course there is. She did apologize for her angry words, and, well, I can't be sure that she was sincere, but we must always give everyone the benefit of the doubt and hope that their good feelings are true.
What if she wasn't being honest, though?
Well, That would mean that the bad at that moment was stronger than the good.
You shouldn't go with her, Mr. Kringle.
Now that's a fast. We must be quick to support any kind of good feelings that she expressed in her words. Having said them, even she, deep down, has to believe that she ought to mean them.
I'm calling a vote for the Elves, and whether Mr. Kringle should go with Miss Sawyer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed!
I'm sorry, but I'm in charge of me, and the ayes have it. I'm going to give Mrs. Sawyer a chance. Besides, remember Mrs. Walker suggested I go with her. Don't you worry, I can handle myself. You elves go on home, and I'll see you in the morning.
If you say so, sir, but please be careful.
I will. There you are.
Yeah.
Where should we go to dinner? Okay.
Up on the housetop, reindeer paws, out jumps good old Santa Claus. Down through the chimney with lots of toys, all for the little ones' Christmas joys. Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Up on the housetop, click, 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 down through the chimney with good Saint Nick.
I can't believe she did this. I can't believe she did this to me.
Doris didn't send you here, Chris. She thought Sawyer was taking you to dinner.
Oh, no. She had doubts all along. I'm sure she was humoring me. And I thought she was beginning to believe in me.
How did it happen that you went with Sawyer to Bellevue?
She tricked me. Sawyer sat there in the restaurant looking out the window and making small talk. All of a sudden, she jumped up and said, "Let's go." As soon as I got outside, she pushed me into waiting cab. I was shoved between two men, and I heard one of them say, "Bellevue." Sawyer didn't even come along.
Didn't they give you the usual sanity tests that you know by heart?
Oh, yeah. Same routine. But I was so crushed by what Doris had done to me that I deliberately gave the wrong answers. I really committed me.
Doris had no idea what Sawyer was up to, Chris. She agreed you two would have dinner and Sawyer would only talk with you about seeing a psychiatrist.
Well, that's a relief, but why did she come and tell me that herself?
She was afraid of hurting you, Chris.
Well, it hurts anyway. I'm just a nice old man she felt sorry for.
She feels more than that, I'm sure.
Oh, no, if she did, she'd be here. If you'd been dragged to here, she'd be here in a heartbeat.
She certainly had doubts at first, but she was really beginning to open up and believe. I think relief was still too new and fragile, and Sawyer may have tipped her the other way. Trust me, Chris, I'm sure that Doris wouldn't want you to stay here.
It's not just Doris, it's people like Sawyer. They're dishonest and... I don't want to say all the awful words that occur to me, but... and she's the one that's considered normal. That's the way sane people behave. I'd rather stay here with these more honest folks.
Nonsense, Chris. You are quite sane and a whole lot saner than most.
Oh, no. She's out there and I'm in here. I should have listened to the elves, but I thought there was something good in that woman that I could touch. So, it looks like I'll be spending the rest of my life at Mount Hope, like Dr. Pierce said.
Chris, don't be so gloomy. You're not living up to your own philosophy. You can't just think of yourself, you know.
What? Am I just thinking of myself?
You can't give up. What happens to you matters to a whole lot of people. People like me who have faith in you and what you stand for, and people like Susan who are just beginning to learn about faith.
Maybe you're right. Yes, maybe you're right. Maybe I am. I'm sorry for myself. Well, I ought to be ashamed of myself, and by golly, I am. Come on, Fred, let's get out of here.
Oh, hold on there, Chris. It's not that easy. There are some legal matters that may be difficult to clear up. I'm not sure. I just...
Oh, come on now, Fred. You told me not to be discouraged. Now don't you go and get discouraged. I have faith in you, Fred. I know you can do it.
Really?
Yes.
Well, then I'll do it. I'll get you out of here.
Wonderful. And soon, I hope.
Very soon.
Good morning. What a beautiful day. It's been a good year.
No reason why that spring election won't fall into my lap. Perhaps my Christmas present to Mrs. Harper this year ought to be something more elaborate. That trip to Bermuda.
That ought to be real nice, huh? Ms. Myra, the Attorney General's office is here to see you, Your Honor.
Ah, good. Show her in.
Ma'am?
Merry Christmas, Miss Ma.
Merry Christmas. I have some routine commitment paperwork here for you. I've checked it over very carefully. The psychiatric report from Bellevue is right there on top.
Bellevue, huh? Age unknown. Old man, huh?
Very old, Your Honor.
I suppose I should read all this.
You can take my word for it. This old man, he calls himself Kris Kringle. He thinks he's Santa Claus.
Uh-oh.
Mr. Daly, here to see you, Your Honor.
What does he want?
He said he's representing a person named Kris Kringle, Your Honor.
Oh, you better show him in. Santa Claus has a lawyer?
I don't know. Right this way, sir.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Fred Gailey. I represent Mr. Kringle. Oh, I believe you have received the papers.
Yes, it just seems it's a matter of signing the consent, it seems. Put the old fella out of harm's way for what's rest of his life.
No, if you don't mind, Your Honor. There are indications that Mr. Kringle has been victimized. I'm requesting a proper hearing so that I can provide witnesses.
I thought you said this case was clear-cut.
I thought it was. This is the first I'm hearing about any challenges.
The psychiatric evaluation, Mr. Gailey. There's a clear diagnosis. Yes, here it is. In addition to his delusion, he became violent. That seems like a pretty clear basis for commitment, don't you think?
That is a misrepresentation, Your Honor, and that's why I'm requesting a hearing.
I'm thinking of call time. Cost to the taxpayers, Mr. Gailey.
Your Honor may sign the commitment papers if you wish, sir, but I must advise you, I will submit a writ of habeas corpus.
Won't be necessary. Might as well have a competence hearing. Let's see here. How about next Monday at 10 a.m.? Is that all right with you?
Fine, and thank you, Your Honor.
Merry Christmas. Miss Mara.
Just when I thought I was getting my calendar cleared for Christmas vacation. I'll work it in, Your Honor.
All right, see you next Monday then.
Good day, sir.
Thanks, man. Same to you.
Hey, who do I see about getting the Kringle commitment case dropped?
Kringle's commitment case has been challenged, Miss.
Sawyer.
Yes. Wouldn't you know, his certification of insanity is unequivocal, but even Bellevue's word isn't good enough.
We have to get this case dropped. Isn't there anything we can do?
No. The hearing has been scheduled for next Monday.
A public hearing. Attorneys? No, Mr. Macy has demanded that I get Santa back. This is disastrous.
Don't worry. Kringle's lawyer, this kid named, Gailey. He's just a young sport looking to get a little publicity.
Publicity? My job, gone. No Christmas bonus. Oh, maybe Mrs. Walker can talk to Mr. Gailey.
Good evening, folks. This is Sydney Stewart with your New York Evening News on the channel WXYZ. Today's top story is the Sandy hearing of, you won't believe this, Kris Kringle, also known as, you guessed it, Santa Claus. It seems that Macy's St. Nick says he is the real Santa, and the state of New York wants to put him away for saying so. This could result in a lot of disappointed children and empty stockings on Christmas morning. We'll keep you informed on what happens to Santa in the New York judicial system as the hearing progresses.
Hello, Finley. Is the judge in today? Hello, Henry. How you been? Yes. Henry, you know I've been a friend of yours for many years now, as well as your medical manager. Now, we've been successful in keeping you in this here chair, haven't we?
Yes, I'm very grateful, Charlie. I like this seat. I'd like to keep it a while.
Alrighty then. Well, we've got elections coming up in the spring, right?
Yes, I'm ready. Is there any problem?
Henry, I've been reading the papers. Seriously, are you really going to have Santa Claus in your courtroom?
Yes. Is there something you'd like me to have him bring you for Christmas?
No. Actually, Henry, I'd like to give you a Christmas present. How about a trip? A vacation? Now! Take Madeline and escape Bermuda like you've been talking about.
I'd like to, Charlie, but I won't be able to get away for a while. The calendar's too full.
No. I mean right away. You look all the way down to me, Henry. You gotta take a few weeks off.
Nonsense. I've never felt better in my life.
Go fishing. Go hiking. Go anywhere.
Why should I?
Because this Santa Claus case is explosive, Henry. You've got to get out of it somehow.
Can't just walk out on a case. It's all been arranged.
Then have a sudden illness. Let another judge handle it. Somebody who isn't coming up for re-election right away.
Charlie, relax. An honest man. I wouldn't fake an illness. Besides, maybe the case will bring some good publicity for the campaign.
Good publicity? You'd be a regular Pontius Pilate before you even start your campaign. You'd be a villain to every little kid who believes in Santa Claus.
They don't vote.
But their parents do. Every father or mother has to tell their kid why Santa Claus went to jail is going to hate you.
Not jail, state hospital.
The same thing. Wake up, Henry.
Think about trying Santa Claus for sanity?
Yeah, I saw it. You guys crazy, don't you?
What was that? I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, it's a total costume of Krispy Kreme. Don't be nuts.
Oh, I don't know. Why shouldn't there be a real Santa Claus? I think it's a nice idea.
Even if he isn't real, I think they don't put those guys away. He's no harm to anybody.
And what about all the children who believe? Who's to say they are?
Hear ye, all rise. The New York State Court is now in session. The Honorable Henry V. X. Horvath presiding.
may be seated. Let us proceed.
As the competency report has already been submitted into evidence, Your Honor, the prosecution wishes to call a Mr. Kris Kringle.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Please raise your right hand. Do ya swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
May be seated.
Would you mind stating your name for the record?
Kris Kringle.
And where do you live?
Well, that's what this hearing is supposed to determine, I believe.
Very sound answer, Mr. Kringle.
And do you believe yourself to be Santa Claus?
Of course.
The state rests its case, Your Honor.
Would you like to cross-examine this young man? I believe he was employed to play Santa Claus. Perhaps he didn't understand the question.
I understood it perfectly, Your Honor.
In view of the witness's statement, do you still wish to enter the defense?
I do, Your Honor. I am fully aware of the fact that Mr. Kringle believes himself to be Santa Claus. In fact, that is the basis of the entire case against him. The state declares that this man is not sane simply because he believes he is Santa Claus.
I believe that is a reasonable and logical premise for such a declaration, Mr. Gailey.
It would be, Your Honor, if you, or I, or even Miss Mara here believed that we were Santa Claus.
Anybody who thinks that they are Santa Claus is out of touch with reality. Of course he is insane.
Not necessarily. You believe yourself to be Judge Harper, Your Honor, and nobody questions your sanity because you are Judge Harper.
I know all about myself, young man. Mr. Kringle is the subject of this hearing.
I was only making a point, Your Honor.
And your point is?
I wish to clarify that if a person is the person he believes himself to be, just as you are, sir, then he is just as sane.
Well, of course, but he isn't.
Oh, but he is, Your Honor.
Is what?
I intend to prove that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
The court stands adjourned until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
All rise.
I've read the evening paper, Fred, and I'm worried. You seem to be fighting such a hopeless battle.
Actually, I'm rather confident. All the publicity is working for us. I mean, public sympathy is obviously behind Kris. I think we have a good chance.
But what about your law firm? How are they going to react to taking this case on?
Well, actually, old Hayslip, the senior partner, called me in this afternoon. We are an old and established firm with great prestige and dignity, Mr. Gailey. We can't have one of our junior members making a public spectacle of himself. We aren't in business to prove that some old crank is Santa Claus. In other words, unless I drop the case, they drop me.
Then you'll have to give it up, won't you?
I can't let a client down. You wouldn't want me to walk out on Kris, would you?
Fred, I really care very deeply for you. And I admire and respect your courage in taking this on, but I don't want to see you lose your position.
It's true. I might.
That would be irresponsible, Fred. People have to be realistic. I certainly learned that. You can't give up your job for some sentimental whim.
It's more than a whim, Doris.
Stop dreaming, Fred.
There is something very beautiful about that old man, and very compelling, too. Representing Kris is the right thing to do, Doris. I won't let him down. And I'm a damn good lawyer, too. Come on, Doris, have some faith in me.
I do, but it isn't a matter of having faith. You're bound to lose the case. It's just common sense.
Doris, having faith is believing in something when common sense tells you not to. Your problem is you've got too much common sense.
Well, it's a good thing one of us does. Comes at quite an asset sometimes.
Can't you get over being afraid? Just open yourself up and believe in people. People like Chris, in laughter, and joy, and love, and all of the other intangibles.
You can't pay rent with intangibles.
And you can't live a life without them. At least I can't. I really thought that Chris and I had broken through your armor, Doris. I hoped you would be ready to be more open-minded and open-hearted. Well, there's no use talking. I guess we don't have many thoughts or feelings in common, do we?
I suppose not.
Then there's nothing more to say.
It's ironic. With all my common sense, I really thought it'd work out this time.
So did I.
Goodbye, friend.
As my first witness, I call R.H. Macy.
Watch your step.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, I do.
May be seated.
Are you Mr. R.H. Macy, owner of one of the largest department stores in New York City?
Yes. And 51 stores nationwide.
Right. And is Mr. Kringle here one of your employees?
Yes, he is.
Do you believe him to be sane?
Yes, I do.
Do you believe him to be truthful?
Remember, you're under oath, Mr. Macy.
Miss Mara, you will have a chance to cross-examine the witness after Mr. Gilly's finished.
Perhaps I can ask Miss Mara's question for her. Mr. Macy, do you believe this man to be Santa Claus?
Yes, I do.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Miss Mara, do you wish to...
No.
You may step down.
You're fired.
As my next witness, I call Dr. Pierce.
Dr. Pierce, please, take the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Be seated.
Dr. Pierce, you are the resident physician at the Maplewood home, correct? And you have known Chris Kringle for many years, is that right?
Yes.
Do you believe him to be Santa Claus?
Yes.
Would you mind saying that louder, Doctor? I want the court to hear you.
Yes, I do.
Doctor, you are a woman of science, are you not? Have you any logical, scientific reasoning for your opinion?
Miss Mara, I must caution you again. You may question a witness when Mr. Gilly is finished.
Yes, Your Honor.
Dr. Pierce, did you express a Christmas wish to Mr. Kringle several weeks ago?
Yes.
Now, what was it?
Well, I wanted an X-ray machine for the medical facility at the Maplewood home.
Now, what arrived at the Maplewood home yesterday?
An X-ray machine.
And where did it come from?
The card said, "Merry Christmas," from Chris Kringle.
Thank you, Doctor. Your witness.
Thank you. Dr. Pierce, it is my understanding that lots of presents come with cards saying, "From Santa Claus." Do you have any other possible donors?
No.
Now be careful, Dr. Pierce. You are in a court of law, and only logical facts and testimony can be entered into evidence. So why is it that you believe that such a very expensive machine could have come from such an old man who has a temporary Christmas job at a department store.
Because he's the only one to whom I said anything about it. And when I expressed the wish, I said, if I get that X-ray machine, I'll know you're Santa Claus. And I got it. And I do.
May step down.
As my next witness, I call Jane Duncan.
Right-hand man. Do ya swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
You may be seated.
Okay.
Miss Duncan, you are a zookeeper at the Central Park Zoo, are you not?
I am.
Jane, tell us about Mr. Kringle here.
Oh, Mr. Kringle, he has a wonderful way with the reindeer. He's uncanny. I work with the antelope at the zoo. I've been doing that for years, but I've always had trouble with the reindeer. The only time I can get near them is when they are restrained. Yet these same reindeer will walk right up to Mr. Kringle and eat out of his hand.
Objection, Your Honor. This is irrelevant and immaterial. Not to mention ridiculous.
Stink.
Does Mr. Gailey plan on having the reindeer come up and testify next, for heaven's sakes? Everybody knows there is no such person as Santa Claus.
Order in the court. Order.
Your Honor, may I ask Miss Mara a question? All the witnesses have testified not only that there is a Santa Claus, but that he is in this very courtroom. Now, can you offer any positive proof that there is no Santa Claus?
Well, no. But I don't intend to try. This isn't a nursery. This is a New York State courthouse. We are wasting the court's time with all of this childish nonsense. Your Honor, is there or is there not a Santa Claus? I ask for an immediate ruling.
Well, the court will take a short recess to consider the matter.
Oh, guys.
Okay, Henry, look, Henry, I don't care what you do about old Whisker Puss out there. But if you officially rule that there's no Santa Claus, you might as well just start looking for a chicken ranch somewhere. We won't even be able to put you into primaries.
But I'm the same person, a responsible official. I've taken an oath, Charlie. How can I go in there and say there's a Santa Claus? If I do, they'll have me derobed and try me for insanity.
And listen here, Henry. Do you have any idea how many millions of dollars worth of toys are produced each and every year? Toys that wouldn't be sold if it weren't to Santa Claus? Have you ever heard of the National Association of Manufacturers? How do you think they would like your ruling? And what about the people they employ to make those toys? Union members, Henry, they're gonna love you. And they're gonna say with their votes. Then there are the department stores and the candy companies and the Christmas card artists and printers. And what about the Salvation Army? They've got a Santa Claus in every corner. And it's their biggest source of income. I'm telling you, Henry, if you rule that there's no Santa Claus, you could count on just getting 2 votes. Yours and that lawyer Mara's.
1. Mara's a Republican. may be seated. The question of Santa Claus is, by and large, a matter of opinion. There are many people who firmly believe in him, and many that do not. The tradition of the American justice system demands that I keep a broad and unprejudiced view on such a controversial matter. Therefore, this court tends to keep an open mind. Now, I will hear evidence supporting either position.
I believe I have some further evidence, Your Honor. I call J. Mara to the stand.
Who? Me?
Miss Janet Mara.
Hello, Mommy.
I've got this, Finley. Janet, please be seated. Now, you know the difference between telling a lie and telling the truth, don't you?
Of course I do. Everybody knows you shouldn't tell a lie, especially in court.
You may proceed, Mr. Gailey.
Do you believe in Santa Claus, Janet?
Sure I do. He brought me a dog buggy last year, and this year his memory.
What does he look like?
He's sitting right over there.
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Now, tell me, Janet, why are you so sure that there is a Santa Claus?
Because my mommy told me so. Didn't you, Mommy?
And you believe your mommy, don't you, Janet? She's a truthful person, after all.
Of course I do. My mommy wouldn't tell me something that wasn't so. Would you, Mommy?
Thank you, Janet. You may go.
Don't forget, a real beauty parlor set.
Don't worry, Janet, you'll get it.
The state of New York concedes the existence of Santa Claus. But, having so conceded, Your Honor, we ask that Mr. Gailey stop presenting personal opinion as evidence. I could bring in hundreds of other witnesses with the opposite opinion. In effort to try to keep this trial moving along, we demand that Mr. Gailey present authoritative and tangible proof that Mr. Kris Kringle is the one and only Santa Claus.
A point well taken, Miss Mara. I'm afraid I must agree.
Your Honor, I am not prepared to present authoritative and tangible proof at this time. May I ask for an adjournment until tomorrow?
Court stands adjourned for tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m.
All rise.
Is Mr. Kringle coming over tonight, Mother?
I'm afraid not.
He hasn't come for so long.
Susan, I don't think Mr. Kringle will ever be able to come and see us again.
Why not?
Well, it's because he says he's Santa Claus.
But he has to be Santa Claus. He's just like everything Santa is supposed to be. Nobody could be like Mr. Kringle, except Santa Claus.
I wish you were right. He's going to be pretty upset if people start saying he isn't Santa Claus.
Then I want to write him a letter to cheer him up. What's his address, Mother?
I don't know. But I'm sure he'd get it if he sent it to the New York State Courthouse in New York City. Let's go home, and I'll help you write.
Here's a new one. They write to Santa of the North Pole, the South Pole, care of the postmaster, and every other way. But this kid writes to Mr. Kris Kringle of the New York State Court. Special delivery, too.
That's where he is, you know. Don't you read the papers?
Yeah, I read the papers, the news I want to read. The Mets and the San Francisco Giants, them's out of the playoffs.
They got him on a tryout down there. This Kringle guy, he claims he's Santa Claus, and some DA claims he's nuts.
Wait, there really might be some guy who's Santa Claus.
A lot of people think he is.
What's the matter with you, Lou? You ain't very bright today. That's Kris Kringle guy. He's the solution to our problem. Geez, why'd they think of that? Order a special truck. Order a couple of them. Get them up here right away. All the Santa Claus mail we have lying around here. You got it, Al.
No, Henry! The Kringle hearings reached massive proportions. There ain't blazing headlines about it!
I know. I've seen the papers too.
So, what are you gonna do? You gotta figure your situation.
And my duty to my office.
Oh, today's Christmas Eve. If you start Saturday in that house on Christmas Eve, you might be up for a protest demonstration. Or assaulted. Or even murdered.
I know things are desperate. But if that young Gailey can find even the slightest competent authority reference that I can use for a sanity ruling, I'll eagerly and willingly give him every possible break. You know, I've been examining Mr. Kringle very carefully. Seems to me nothing more than just a kindly old gentleman. But unless something miraculous happens, I have no choice but to accept the report of incompetency and have the old fella put away.
Oh, Mother, now that we're here, I'm getting scared. What if Mr. Gailey loses, and they send Mr. Kringle away?
Susan, I probably wasn't right when I told you that. We have to believe in Mr. Kringle. Have faith in him.
And you think I'll really get my Christmas wish?
Faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to. We have to believe or we won't get anything. You and I both have to.
I believe. I believe. I believe.
Hey, Fred, take a look at this. Dear Mr. Kringle, I miss you very much, and I hope I will see you soon. I know it will all come out all right. I believe you are Santa Claus, and I hope you are not sad. Yours truly, Susan Walker. This P.S. I believe in you too. Love, Doris. Well, what do you know? Come here, Susan. Oh, Susan.
Mr. Kringle, I believe.
Susan, I thank you so much for sending that letter. No matter what happens at this hearing, now I know that my efforts have not been in vain.
It will come out all right. I just know it, because I believe in you.
Fred, I'm glad we went through all this, only to get this letter.
Hold on to your hat, Chris. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Okay.
Oh, lass.
You may be seated. You have any further evidence to submit, Mr. Gailey?
I have, Your Honor. It concerns the Postal Service, an official agency of the United States government. The Post Office Department was created on July 26, 1776 by the Second Continental Congress. The first Postmaster General was Benjamin Franklin. The Post Office Department was discontinued as a part of the President's Cabinet in 1971 and converted to a separate agency which operates its own budget.
It is indeed gratifying to know about the United States Postal Service, but I hardly doubt it has any bearing on this case.
Begging your pardon, Ms. Mara, it has a great deal of bearing. Your Honor, if I may be allowed to proceed.
By all means.
I can quote endless details from this volume to verify that the Postal Service is an officially run governmental organization. Moreover, it became an official branch of the federal government just 22 days after the Declaration of Independence was signed. Now, according to its regulations, All positions are governed by civil service procedures. Promotions are based strictly on merit. Furthermore, postal regulations make it a criminal offense to deliver mail to the wrong party.
Your Honor, the state is second to none in its admiration for the United States Postal Service.
Will the court accept the U.S. Postal Service as a valid authority for evidence in this case?
The state will concede that the United States Postal Service is an authoritative organization.
For the record.
For the record. Anything to get on with this.
I wish to introduce 3 pieces of evidence, Your Honor. Let these be marked Exhibits A, B, and C. These letters are addressed to Santa Claus, USA, in childish handwriting. And these letters have just now been delivered to Mr. Kringle here in the building by the U.S. Postal Service. I submit, Your Honor, that this is positive proof that a competent federal authority recognizes Mr. Kringle to be the one and only Santa Claus.
Order.
I hardly think that 3 pieces of mail constitutes positive proof. It is my understanding that the United States Postal Service receives thousands of such letters a year.
I have further exhibits, Your Honor, but I hesitate to produce them.
All right, young man. Bring them on. Put them here on my bench.
Yes, I am sure that we would all love to see them.
But, Your Honor...
I said to put them right here. Right here.
Very well.
What's all this?
Right there. These letters is addressed to Santa Claus.
All right. The United States of America recognizes this man to be Santa Claus. This court will not dispute it. Case dismissed.
The best Christmas I've ever had. It was wonderful having dinner with Chris and Dr. Pierce and everyone at Maplewood.
All it needs now to make it perfect is snow.
You know, I've never had a feeling like this before. It's like, for the first time, I finally understand what you mean when you say, faith is believing in things.
When common sense tells you not to.
Oh, look, it's my house,
What does she mean by her house?
I don't know. She never mentioned anything about a house to me before.
Of course, it is a nice looking house. It would probably be a great real estate investment for somebody.
I suppose so.
Of course, it looks a little big for just 2 people, but maybe might be the perfect size for 3, don't you think? Doris, you've known I've loved you for a very long time, and I've loved Susan even longer. Now, don't you think it's time?
Fred.
Maybe we should get this house for Susan.
For all of us.
Mother, it's got a swing in the backyard, just like my dream, just like my Christmas wish, the one I told Chris about.
Susan, Fred and I have something to tell you.
That you're getting married? I know, because that was part of my Christmas wish too.
She's way ahead of us.
And look what I found inside. It was right beside the fireplace. You're right, Mommy. Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
Oh, no, it can't be. It must have been left by the people who moved out.
You know, I was thinking I must be a pretty good lawyer. I take a little old man and legally prove that he's Santa Claus, but no, maybe I didn't do such an amazing thing after all.
Mrs. Walker, Mr. Gailey.
We've been trying to catch you since you left the party. Hey, where'd you find Santa's cave? Santa's cave?
Wait, why is it that you guys are trying to catch up to us?
We just wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings. Thank you.